the softer you are, the less rigid you are, the more flexible you are as a person, the more you can accomplish. And this is a great way to practice in parenting as well. And this idea that a rigid thought, how many times have you heard this idea that if I tell you something, I'm going to stay consistent with it? We have a set of rules, these are the rules, and we'll do it this way. In the Tao it says the more rules you make, the more rule breakers you create. It's true. The more rules you have in your house about how everything has to go. We had in our house, my wife would have a big jar of M&Ms. Peanuts, you know, all these different multicolored ones. And the kids in our house, because we didn't feed them sugar and we didn't give them sodas and stuff like that. So they were just more like a decoration. Every once in a while someone would take them. They'd hardly ever be replaced. Now when we had kids come over to our house who weren't ever allowed to have such horrible things, you should have seen their behavior. You know, they would scoop them up, they'd be putting them in their pockets, and they'd get their purses, and they'd open it up, and, you know, the whole thing would be empty. I said, well, what are you doing? He said, well, you mean you could just have these whenever you want them? I said, well, we don't really have any rules about that. It's just, it's not something that we encourage or discourage. It's just there. It's like Emerson had a wonderful line. He said, a foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. A foolish consistency, a rigid consistency. So that there are many people who will say, if I say it on Monday, you can be absolutely certain that on Wednesday I'm going to believe the same thing, regardless of what might happen on Tuesday. Now Tuesday might have something real that you might want to be changing your mind. You might want to say, you know, I thought that this time, but now I've seen this, and now we can shift. And you can see how this can become and so much about the Tao is on leadership. Leadership in the family, leadership in the community, leadership geopolitically. Less rigidity, more openness, more willingness to listen and say, I changed my mind. Because a foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. And what I believed on Wednesday has changed because of what happened on Tuesday. Now, another important thing to say to your children, to your friends, to your lover, to your spouses, to whomever, to the people you work with, words that we're so terrified to say, but which give us a sense of living with the Tao. I don't know. I don't know. I'll look it up. Say it. I don't know. Doesn't hurt. Say it again. I don't know. Isn't it fearful? I mean, so many people, and it's like very freeing, because my kids ask me something, and I say, I don't know. They say, Dad, you know everything. You know everything. I said, well, I don't know that, and I'll look it up, or we'll try to find an answer to that, but I don't quite know. I know that even, you know, I spent 20 years running, and I ran every day for 20 years, for 22 years, without missing a day. 8 miles. Never missed a day. That's rigid, all right? Some call that obsessive. But you brush your teeth every day, I used to say, and you don't call that obsessive. And you go to the bathroom every day, and you don't say, well, he's obsessively doing that again today. You don't do that. But anyway, what I learned is that even in the world of exercise, there are certain things that are built in to make us rigid, to make us stiff, to make us hard. And we lift, and we run, and we kick, and this is what we call working out. There's another kind of working out that is ancient. It goes back to the time of Lao Tzu and before, which is called yoga. And yoga means union. It means union with your source. And when you do yoga, you can stay in the same place. You can do the equivalent of 8 miles. When I used to run 8 miles, I had to run 4 miles that way, turn around, 4 miles back. And I'd be sweating. Now I can do yoga, and I can just stand in one place. And in 90 minutes, by being supple, by making myself stretch, by not being hard and rigid, I can get that out there. I can get that leg up. I can do these kinds of things. And 90 minutes later, it's like I'm totally sweating, and I feel so different. I used to, when I would go out at night, to eat or something, after running so many miles, running marathons and doing those things, I'd go to get up and it would be, okay, it's going to take a little while, because everything was so, that doesn't happen anymore because I've given up hard. I've given up being rigid and substituted it for being supple, for being flexible, for living a life in which I don't have to always be so fierce. Listen to this verse of the Tao Te Ching. It's one of my all-time favorites, verse number 76. A man is born gentle and weak. At his death, he becomes hard and stiff. All things, including the grass and the trees, are soft and pliable in life, dry and brittle in death. Stiffness is thus a companion in death. Flexibility is a companion in life. And it's not just for how you exercise, it's how you think, But cultivating the witness is an interesting thing, and what I want to say to you about this is that it's where you begin to step outside and no longer identify yourself with the outer and all that your senses tell you, and begin to reprogram this subconscious mind of yours, which is what does almost all of the activities of your life, the subconscious mind. You know, your conscious mind thinks about things, like when you're learning to drive, it says, you know, put the foot on the brake and then slow it down and turn this and slow it and do this and, you know, put your signal on and endless kinds of things that go through the conscious mind until ultimately the subconscious mind gets all of the suggestions, and then you drive. Your subconscious mind takes you where you want to go. You see a red light, you stop. You don't say, red, right foot, better put it on the brake, better slow. You don't do any of that. Like even you sitting, all of you sitting right here in this room. You know, you got here, you sit down, nobody told you how to sit, where to put your hands, how to do this, you know, how to listen. You just do all of this subconsciously. Your subconscious mind gets programmed all the time. And the witness is where you want to be able to step outside and look at what it is that you have trained your subconscious mind to do. I wrote a whole book about this called Excuses Be Gone, about retraining this habitual mind of yours that does nothing but continuously have you redo the same things over and over and over again, where you want to learn to just walk a different way in your life. And the way that you do this is by starting to witness what it is that you're doing. And one of the suggestions I give to everyone at my talks is this, to recognize that the last 5 minutes of your day before you go to sleep at night are 5 of the most important minutes that you live all day long. Because this is the time when you are preparing your subconscious mind, which is most comfortable with your unconscious mind. Your subconscious mind learns the most when it is in its unconscious state, in your sleep state. So as you're about to go into sleep and your mind is busy doing all of the kinds of things that it does, you are really preparing the universe to offer you up experiences that match up to whatever you're placing into your subconscious mind. And this is a hard concept for people to get, but this is how the world works. This is how the universe works. And I suggest to you that you don't spend the last 5 minutes of your day reviewing all of the things that you don't like, and all of the things that you don't want, and all of the people that upset you, and all of the hurts that you have, and all of the reasons that things are not going well, and all of your illnesses, and all of the things that you can't do, and how sorry you feel for yourself, and all of the. You don't want to do that because you're about to marinate for the next 8 hours in your unconscious mind, which is most comfortable with your subconscious mind. And then when you awaken, you see your subconscious mind cannot make a distinction between what you're thinking about and what you're experiencing in your day and in your life. It just says, if you're thinking it, that must be what you want. And I'll just offer you up experiences that match up to what you're thinking. So you want to be really careful as you go off to sleep at night to make sure that you are placing into your subconscious mind, which is about to enter its unconscious state, only that which you want to materialize and manifest tomorrow morning when you awaken and throughout the entire day. And so many people make the mistake of using the last 5 minutes before they enter into this 8-hour marinating period by going over the things that they don't like, that they don't want, that shouldn't have happened, that really upset them. And so you want to make the shift. This is from the book of Job. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls upon men, while slumbering in their beds, then he opens the ears of men and seals their instruction. Then he opens the ears of men and seals their instruction while they are slumbering in their beds. Job 33, verses 15 and 16. So while you're sleeping, you're getting instructions. But first you've got to place it in your mind and then experience it and witness it. And as you go to sleep at night, you witness everything working out perfectly. I am healthy. I'm going to be walking. I'm going to be in a divine relationship. I'm going to be, attracting the right prosperity. I'm going to have divine relationships with everyone I encounter. I'm going to have the most marvelous day tomorrow. I'm going to help 25 people. Whatever it is, you just place into your imagination, feel what that feels like, and then go off to sleep and receive your instructions. Cultivate the witness.
Your body has limits to how fast it can go and how far it can go. They're expansive and grand. They're much greater than you ever thought they were. There are boundaries in form, but in thought, in that invisible world that I'm talking about, there are no boundaries except what you choose to think. You can think anything. And anything that you can think is here already in the dimension of thought. It's already here. I'm going to stop relating to the people in my life, just my form to their form. I'm going to start getting behind their form, to that divine intelligence that's there. What are they thinking? And how can I have a no-limit relationship with everybody in my life? Instead of relating to the place where there are limits, their bodies, their forms, their performance level, I'm going to relate to what's in back of that. What kind of attitudes do they have? How do they think? I'm going to look at that side of them. That's what Mother Teresa talks about in the streets of Calcutta. She sees God in every one of those starving children and the lepers. She sees the divineness that's there. She doesn't just relate to the form. She relates to who is that human being in back of that form. What is that divineness there? You don't have to be Mother Teresa in the streets of Calcutta catering to the most sorrowful among us. You can do that every place in your life. You can stop just seeing the world in terms of what you see and what you can get a hold of and start living in that invisible part and back of that, where divineness really resides. That's in all of us. Whoever you are, wherever you go in the world, every single human being you meet, whether it's a tribesman in Afghanistan, whether it's a Sherpa guide in Nepal, whether it's a taxi driver in Tokyo, or a tribesman in New Guinea, or a salesman in Detroit, you share something with that person. What you share is what it's like to be human. We all share that with each other. And you know, and they know, what it's like to hurt inside, what it's like to feel lonely, what it's like to experience pain or to experience exhilaration or happiness. We all, as human beings, and those are all thoughts, those all come from thought, we share thought together with all human beings. And if we remembered that, if we tuned into that part of people, whether we're running a business or a family or whatever, if we started relating to people there, instead of just to their form, and when you see an angry person or you see a happy person, what you're looking at is what created that? And what kind of thoughts do they have? And relate to their thought, relate to the divineness in them, whoever they are. The whole world would be better, and so would your business. It's understanding that no one is any better than anybody else in God's eyes. See, it doesn't matter what you call that universal intelligence. The name doesn't matter. It's just as good a word as any in God's eyes, in that universal intelligence that's permeating all form. All of the rest of it is just trappings. It doesn't really matter. When it gets right down to it, we all share humanity with each other. We're all part of the being called human being, each one of us. In reading the literature of the East, particularly, in preparation for my book, you'll see it when you believe it, I would find that over and over, I would see references to this thing called the observer. It's the observer. And one particular group of people would have written about it, and then it would show up in Buddhism, and it would show up in Hinduism, and it would show up in practice of Zen and in Kundalini. And it just kept showing up, this observer, the observer. and I wasn't quite sure what it was, what it meant. And then I began to realize that it's something I've done all my life, only they were just putting it into words. It's really a technique that I find myself using over and over again. The best way to think of it is, like Shakespeare said, the whole world is a stage, and we are all but actors on that stage. When you start to look at it that way, you begin to see yourself as having a lot of roles to play. And they really are roles. And we're all out there playing these roles. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm not authentic at all. I'm not talking about authenticity. Each one of these things are very real, but they are still roles that we're playing. So what you have to do is sort of remind yourself that you're doing that and not take all of this whole stage so seriously and make it so dramatic and so significant and important. It's like lightening you up a little bit. And the observer is like whoever this guardian angel or this invisible person is. You can sort of catch yourself whenever you find yourself getting out of control or getting mad at the fact that there's a delay at the airport or that the traffic isn't going the way you want it to. That invisible guardian angel, that eye that can be in back of you, can put the skids on that right away. That person can say, I'm watching you. I'm watching your form. You know, Lily Tomlin had a great line. She said, how come when you talk to God, it's called praying? But when God talks to you, it's called schizophrenia, you know. But that God talking to you can be that invisible part of you. Then you start connecting to that. And I find myself, wherever I am in my life, whatever I'm doing, in back of myself, on my shoulder or whatever, and reminding me, how should you react to this? Send love here.
A lot of people think that other things make them the way they are. They will blame their past, they'll blame their parents, they'll blame the economy, they'll blame the Ayatollah, they'll blame somebody for things that are going wrong in their life. And one of the favorite things that we have to blame for why I'm upset at a particular moment is something called traffic. Traffic made me upset. And I've always reminded myself when I'm in a jam or when I'm on the freeway and I'm trying to get someplace, that traffic doesn't care. That you have within you the opportunity in this moment to really work on these things that are perhaps debilitating or creating anxiety or stress in your life. That these are tests, these are opportunities for you. Traffic doesn't care. Your anger is your choice, and you can always choose to be happy, angry, depressed, miserable, upset, or you can choose to be fulfilled and do something positive in this moment. It's always up to you.
And if you can just give up your personal history, just let the whole thing go, and pay attention. And when I thought about that yesterday, I went for a swim, and which I do every day. But this was it was after doing this seminar with Eckhart, and I noticed that I was more in the moment in that swim than any swim I've done in the last several years. And I swim virtually every single day at sunset for about an hour. In the ocean, and I just I was in every stroke, and every time I would look down with the goggles on, like whatever you see, whether you see fish or you see turtles or you just see, you know, rocks or trash or whatever it is that you see, it was like it was almost like the transcendence of time and just getting past it and just really immersing yourself into that present moment. And the second thing, of course, is in addition to paying attention, because as you pay attention, I mean, as I was swimming and I would look up, I've done this same route for years and years on Kaanapali Beach here in Maui. I would look up and there was a tree, and I noticed there was a tree next to a building there that in probably 10 years of swimming, I've never seen that tree before. And I must have walked by it 10,000 times if I've not walked by it once. But I really never noticed and I just, as I was swimming, I stopped swimming for a moment and I just became like one with this tree. And it's like, it was such a whole new experience. It was really very, very beautiful. And then the other thing is to be astonished, you know, to just stay in that state of being bewildered. Like Rumi said, sell your cleverness and purchase bewilderment. Just to be astonished at every breath you take. You know, be astonished at who you are, and that you're even alive, that you were ever born, and that you're not this body that you're in, and that you're this invisibleness. And you know, be astonished by the cloud formations and and the little bugs and the spiders and the sand and virtually everything.
I had a great teacher that came into my life through his writing. His name was Nisargadatta Maharaj. Lived in India up until the mid-1980s. And he wrote something called I Am That, which was very powerful and influential in my life. And one of the things that he talked about when he was asked the question, what's the difference between, say, a saint or a highly functioning human being, a spiritual master, a spiritual teacher, and the rest of us, is that they have unconditional love in them and you don't, or we don't? And he said, no. He said, saints have unconditional love in them, and so do you. He said the difference between ordinary human awareness and higher awareness people is that they have nothing else inside of them. That's all they have. And it's almost like we have to learn how to get that in ourselves. To be able to, well, I always like to use a metaphor of an orange. I love the orange. Perhaps living in Florida is why, but an orange is a simple metaphor. You take this orange and you squeeze it as hard as you can squeeze it. And you ask yourself, what will come out? And what comes out when you squeeze an orange? Orange juice. Never, no matter how many times you squeeze it, will apple juice come out. There's no mistakes. You'll never get grapefruit juice out of this thing, ever. The only thing you'll ever get out of it is orange juice. And the next question is why? Why when you squeeze an orange, as hard as you can squeeze it, does orange juice come out? And I asked that question up in Toronto one time. There was a little girl sitting right in the front row. She said, that's dumb. She said, that's what's inside. It has to come out. I said, well, that's the answer. You are really smart. And she smiled. She thought that was great. But that's the truth. The reason that orange juice comes out when you squeeze it is because that's what's inside. Now you extend the metaphor and someone squeezes you. That is, someone says something about you that you don't like. Someone behaves towards you in a way that you find offensive. Somebody does something or says something to you that you feel hurt by. And out of you comes anger, hatred, bitterness, tension, fear, anxiety, stress. And immediately you say, the reason that comes out of me is because of how he said it, or the way that she said that, or because they did that. But the truth is, the reality is, that what comes out is what's inside. And if you don't like what's inside, you can change it. Now, if you ask me, how does orange juice get inside of an orange? I would say, I don't know. I can't figure it out. That's a mystery to me. I just enjoy the oranges of my life and give God the credit for that.
You can attract to yourself what you desire. The central notion of manifesting is the understanding that you have within yourself the ability to attract the objects of your desire. Being able to attract your desires may seem more likely when you consider how things move from the world of the formless into the world of the form. In one of the most intriguing sentences in the New Testament, St. Paul addresses this process of creation. He says it this way: "Things which are seen are not made of things which do appear." St. Paul is telling us that the creative energy is neither solid nor restricted. The physical world of form originates in something other than the form itself. St. Paul's words form the basis for my writing about this principle and for several of those to come in this tape. I believe they suggest how energy informs our ability to attract what we desire. St. Paul is giving us a clue about bringing our desires into the world of matter. Energy then becomes a force that we can tap into. In a film about his boyhood, Albert Einstein describes picking up a compass and watching it in fascination as the needle moved when he changed direction. He said that he became obsessed with understanding the invisible force that moved the compass needle. Where was the force located? Who controlled it? Why did it always work? Like magnetism, there is a force that has many characteristics that are quite impossible to detect with our physical senses. We call this force energy. Energy is in all things in our universe and has an impact upon objects around it with something that we describe as the power of attraction. In magnetic fields, we can easily see it at work, yet we're unable to detect the formless energy with our sensory apparatus. The force is there, attracting and repelling, and it is everywhere on our planet. If it is everywhere,
then it is also within us. It seems unlikely that our senses will inform us any better than they help us comprehend how a magnetic pole works. We can see the results, but the force itself is always elusive and in motion. The essence of this fourth principle of manifesting is that we can utilize this energy because we are this energy. We can use this universal energy to bring to us objects of our desire because the same energy that is in what we desire is also in us, and vice versa. It is simply a matter of alignment and will that allows us to tap into this force. Bringing things into the physical world is a process that we call creation. What we create involves the use of the same power that is in all that is created. It is only a matter of degree. There's absolutely no difference in the power that brings something from the world of waves into the world of particles and the power that brings your thoughts or mental pictures into form. I encourage you to listen to this again and again and commit it to memory. The world of spirit from which all matter derives and the world of matter comprise one harmonious whole. They are separate but always together, just like the peak of the wave and its base, separate but forming an inseparable whole. Think of manifesting as nothing more than transforming waves of possibility into particles of reality. The transforming process requires energy. This energy is invisible but is always in everything, including us. Your mental pictures are related to this power of attraction. There is a power within you that allows you to form a thought or a picture. This mental picturing power is the energy of attraction that is in all creative processes. It is different in degree, but nevertheless identical with the power of attraction. This power is the very substance of life. You can't see, touch, or hear this power, but it is within you. In using this power, you are not in any way attempting to change or interfere with the laws of nature. You are fulfilling the laws. This undifferentiated power is the basis for the mysterious attraction that draws your desires to you. Think of yourself as a way that God has of particularizing. Then see your ability to formulate mental pictures as the divine creative power energizing through you. Can you see that the same creative energy that particularizes as yourself is what you use to manifest your desires? This power thrives on happiness, love, joy, contentment, and peace. The more blissful and loving you are, the more the divine spirit particularizes within you and the more godlike you become. It is through your thoughts, or how you use your power to create a thought, that all creative energy is attracted to you. If your mental pictures are of being surrounded by things and conditions that you desire, and they are rooted in joy and faith, your creative thoughts will attract these surroundings and conditions into your life. The power to even have a thought is a divine power. With this recognition of its sacredness, you form a vision or a mental picture. Finally, you hold it lovingly in place with the inner knowledge that the God force that brought everything in the universe into existence also created you. The form that this energy will take will be controlled and directed by your will or your mental picturing. It is waiting to take any direction you decide. You impress upon the universal mind the object of your desire, and you calmly and knowingly proceed to act upon that picture, allowing the greater intelligence and your own, which is a part of that greater intelligence, to work through you to produce the results. You abandon all fear and return to the affairs of your life, assured that the necessary conditions will soon come into view or are already there. The key is to repeat the mental pictures until the truth of what you are affirming resonates within you without an ounce of doubt. And there will be times when it appears that it isn't working. If your picture doesn't manifest in the time span that you've designated, relax and retreat to your knowing that it is already in place in the spiritual realm. Time is simply not a recognizing feature of the all-creating wisdom.